wheel to wheel, nose to tail. Formula E can't believe what it's seeing. An unreal end to the E-Prix.
If there's one word that epitomises the Formula E World Championship, it's unpredictable. And there are a number of reasons why that is the case. And it isn't just all about the racing. So what is it that makes this electric street racing series so difficult to predict? Is it the drivers? Is it the cars? Is it the format? Is it the circuits we race on? I'm Saunders CB, and this is Formula E Explained. So one of the first areas of unpredictability in this championship comes way before the drivers have even hit the track, in the construction of the cars and the regulations around what the teams can do with them. The teams are limited in what they can change or customize about their cars. The structural and fundamental elements of the car, the chassis, battery, aerodynamics and so on, are completely identical. So there's no chance for teams to outspend others on the power source or exterior elements of their cars. Reducing the overall spending and keeping the costs lower means more teams can compete, and with a more competitive grid comes more unpredictable racing.
So in Formula E, the regulations are relatively tight. The cockpit, all the aerodynamics, all the bodywork, the front suspension is basically stock. We can't change it. All the tyres are the same. But where the manufacturer has a bit of room to play with is the rear ends. So after the battery, we have the gearbox casing where we put the inverter, the electric motor, the rear suspension. That's up to the manufacturer to design.
The power is limited, so ultimately you have very similar cars with kind of the same power. And then it's up to the drivers and teams together to use and extract the kind of maximum potential of their package.
What can and can't be changed by the teams. So basically we can set up our dampers, the car ride height, camber, toe, bit of geometry on the rear, springs, torsion bars, and a lot on the software. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot. I mean, we have a bit of aerodynamics that we can also do with the front flap. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But it's still a lot of options to do good combination, and especially on the software side, there's so much you can do. How the car brakes, how you want to influence the motor at any given point in the corner. So it's a very, very good challenge where you can combine many things to optimize the performance of your car.
And then you've got the drivers that make up the grid. Formula E cars are notoriously difficult to drive and require some pretty extreme skill to be able to race them. Fortunately, skill is not something that the Formula E grid is short of. Former Formula 1 drivers, Le Mans winners, endurance champions, GT, DTM, Super Formula, Formula 2 winners and champions. I mean, I could go on, but I think you get the point.
Well, naturally, when the cars are very similar and the drivers are so competitive, then you find a grid that is very compressed. And as soon as you put a foot wrong on the day, then that immediately compromises the result and performance. Whereas perhaps in other championships, there is a little bit more spread across the grid. So even if you might not extract the maximum out of the package on that day, you're still there or thereabout. Whereas in Formula E, that can immediately kind of put you off.
Everyone is a top driver in this championship. Like, everyone's been a champion. There's a lot of really good teams. So you really have to prepare everything perfect, because yeah, if not, then for the tiniest little reason you're like P20.
With that much talent and experience on the grid, alongside the equally competitive cars, it takes a lot for a driver to come out on top, and not a lot for it all to go wrong.
Did you see that? Did you see him defending?
The smallest of mistakes don't go unpunished, because if you mess up, it's not like you have a 10-second gap on the next driver. The driver behind is right there to capitalise on your mistakes. And so is the driver after that, and the next one, and the next one.
What a pass! And then Verline goes through. Apter's got damage, has he?
This is something that's helped by the design of the car itself. The wings and bodywork don't produce excessive downforce, and the electric powertrain doesn't pump out the hot, heavy exhaust fumes of a combustion engine. As a result, the car behind isn't driving into a stream of dirty, turbulent air that would reduce aerodynamic grip and overheat the tyres. meaning Formula E cars can race each other nose to tail. In fact, there's a purpose-built diffuser that helps spread airflow away from the rear of the car to allow for even closer racing without disadvantage.
So the way the Formula E car is designed and the aerodynamics has been regulated by the FIA, so there's not much downforce. The added benefit of that is that we can run very close to one another, almost on the gearbox, and that allows for obviously very close racing and a lot of overtaking.
There goes Evans.
Because it's so narrow, we always easily bump into each other, and some places there's only space for one or two cars. Our cars are relatively strong, so we can also touch a little bit and still stay alive.
So a competitive grid racing in competitive machinery in cars built for close racing. Now that should be more than enough to make unpredictable racing. But it doesn't stop there, there's more to it, because the circuits, the city street circuits that Formula E races on, act as a further catalyst to the unpredictability. Narrow city street circuits where mistakes go severely punished, there's next to no runoff area, changes in the surface, changes in the level of grip, and where track limits are the difference between success and the end of your race.
The racing in Formula E is the closest you can find, I think. It's even closer than touring car racing because we are in the heart of the cities, in between the walls or the guardrails, and we have to muscle our way through if we want to overtake.
And here comes Andre Lotterer.
We bring the races to new cities that have never had a race there, and it's not something like Monaco where the asphalt is being redone, especially for the race. We quite often go to very bumpy tracks, a little bit dirty surfaces, so it makes it really difficult for us to master it.
Most other categories maybe 1 or 2 street tracks in their season, but we are normally always racing between the walls. So we're always, playing with fire, playing with that risk and reward throughout the whole day, throughout qualifying, throughout the race. And this makes for a really, really challenging championship.
There is no margin for error. As soon as you put a foot wrong, and it only needs to be, a couple of centimeters, it can result in a DNF or a crash. Or look at us, what happened in Rome Race 1. On a normal track that would have never happened.
And the two Mercedes collide.
It was just wrong time, wrong place. So that is the unpredictability of Formula E.
Oh, big crash, big crash, big crash.
The one-day race format that Formula E operates also plays a role in the unpredictability. It keeps the racing competitive and allows for drivers across the grid to have a chance at glory. And that starts with the qualifying format.
The Formula E qualifying is quite unpredictable as well because the way it works is with the qualifying groups, there are 4 groups.
We've got the top 6 in the championship going first, then the next top 6. And throughout each group, the track evolves and gets faster.
Every group that comes after Group 1 is going a little bit faster. And sometimes you see tracks like Valencia Race 1 that there is quite minimal track evolution, but then when we saw kind of a drying track in Rome, it's obviously a huge disadvantage.
If the guys in Group 4, they don't have many points, they qualify in the front, it mixes up the field constantly, and this is also something very unpredictable that sometimes Group 1 manages well, but then sometimes they don't, and they're in the back, and then it shuffles everything around.
So what we tend to find now is that the top 6 in the championship will be starting towards the back of the grid for the E-Prix.
So once the racing is underway, the drivers have the chance to show their racecraft and energy management abilities to stay out in front or make up positions. But because of what we've mentioned already, the close racing, the unforgiving city circuits, this is where the championship comes alive and anything can happen, making the outcome of the race very hard to predict.
We all have the same amount of energy. At the end of the day, we almost end up somehow together, very close at the last lap to cross the line. But sometimes someone runs out of energy because he didn't have the right strategy, so there's always some drama going on. Yeah, in Mexico, Pascal Wehrlein was leading the race up until the last meter, then he ran out of energy, and then Di Grassi won the race.
The moment I really realized how competitive Formula E was is that when I got my very first pole position in Zurich in season 4, I thought I was man to beat in the race, but I was not. I was quickest over 1 lap, but I came to the race and I got absolutely eaten up, and we fell back out of the points. So that was my big lesson. Like, wow, okay, 3 hours before I was a king, and now I'm walking home with my tail between my legs.
I think I still haven't got it. It's so dynamic and it's so, you know, different all the time. If you're in quali group 1 and you know, there is a significant track evolution through qualifying and you're at the back of the grid, you need to accept that, you know, you're fighting for 1 or 2 points, but you need to take them.
At every race there's something that happens that's really unpredictable, and that makes Formula E the most, let's say, unpredictable championship. And it's very stressful for us and the teams, but it's great for the spectators.
So imagine being in my shoes in the car. I've got 24 other guys trying to beat me. I'm trying to pass them, they're trying to pass me. Racing on these really, really tricky tracks that are just asking for mistakes. I'm trying to manage my energy. I'm trying to stay off the walls. I'm trying to beat every other guy. I've got my engineer in my ear speaking to me basically every lap.
Red -5, red -5.
Copy.
It's a recipe for a brain explosion, but it's really rewarding when you get it right.
Yes, guys.
Formula E is a championship that has competition at its forefront. Multiple different race winners and title deciders that more often than not go right up until the final event of the season. And now, you know why. Formula E unpredictability explained. Let us know what you'd like us to cover in future episodes and we'll make it happen.